So welcome to this interview with the lovely Antje Swart, who is the conscious elevator. We're going to go on a hell of a ride here with Antje because she is a barrel of laughs, plenty of good conscious energy, high vibration. So the first question obviously is, how are you feeling, Antje?
I'm feeling good. Thank you, Martin. Thank you for having me here. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, and I'm feeling good. I'm having a good day. It's been a little bit crazy, but it's good because, yes, consciousness elevator going all the way to the top and going because on the top there's a VIP lounge and there's a party. So let's go.
Oh, I always love going to the top when there's a party on. So all getting together. So let's first of all, thank you for joining us as well. Thank you for choosing to be here and investing your time to be here to share more about yourself. And with that, I'd love to really start off with, what is it that you bring to people around the world from a point of your value in this specific area?
Well, I always try to rattle things up and shake things up, question the status quo, burst old paradigms, and really look at the old and the mundane and the routine from a different point of view, because we often fall into a rut and we do the same thing over and over, and we work on autopilot, and then we're missing out on a lot of things, so I'm always questioning, not doubting, but questioning, right? Is this really the truth? Is this really what this is all about? So I rattle things up so that they can wake up and smell the roses and create their desired success and have the best possible life.
Yeah, beautiful. I love the way you got in desired success there. That was a nice little drop in. So with that, and obviously helping people and working with people, but more so helping people on their journey, which I know fills your own cup as it does mine. Was that something, when we go back to the childhood and the journey to this point, was that something that the environment you were brought up in, or you saw the opposite of that, maybe, of people not supporting each other?
Well, I think more brought up with. Apparently, even as a child, I was a mediator when my peers were fighting. So it is in my personality. And also, my mother was an artist, my father a scientist. So there were a lot of discussions, and there were a lot of, doing things differently. And there was always an aspect of challenging the system a little bit, right? And growing and developing. And I've always had a passion of working together with people, collaborating. And from early age, I was questioning. I was looking at the fakirs, on TV, and I thought, how can they do this with the power of their minds, right? And then the DNA got discovered, and the brain, was more scientifically decoded, and they said we're only using 2% of our brains. And I thought, I think I'm pretty smart, my dad, my mom are pretty smart. So what the heck can we do if we use the other 89%? 98%.
98, yeah.
Okay. Anyway, the rest. See, I don't do numbers very well. And then they came up with the junk DNA, only this percentage is good. And I thought, this is rubbish. This cannot be. Nature doesn't create junk. We are supposed to be conscious beings, and people can do this, and people can't do anything. So there must be more to it. So I always question, always looking out, how does consciousness work? How does energy work? How does quantum physics work? How does it work? And I still don't have the answer, but I'm a lot wiser now.
So with that, I'm curious to know, I heard something a while ago, and I may get the numbers wrong here, but I was under the impression that the most intelligent mammal is a dolphin at about 11%. And I had heard, and like I said, don't quote me on these numbers, but I had heard that a human, the highest a human's ever got to is 6%. Now, I'm curious to know, like, let's just imagine that's true. I'm curious to know from your side, based on what you've experienced, do you think that when we go on this journey of letting go and meditating and focusing on like breath work and doing all these modalities that we hear are nourishing for the body and the soul and our mind, do you think that they would also have a positive effect on increasing that percentage from 2%? Just from your opinion.
It's a good question. And I think you have to distinguish between what brain are you measuring? Because by now we have the brain in our heads, we have a heart brain, and we have a gut brain.
Mm.
So where do you measure? And those 2% and those 6%, where were they measured? And it's not mind over matter, right? It's not about mind power. It's about the combination and the alignment and the synchronicity between all of this. And I think the wisest people have never been measured. And the measuring is all in isolation. It is on specific tasks. And when you measure something in isolation, you're missing the point, because we do not exist in isolation. We are connected with everything there is. So why am I only going to measure the oxygen I take in through my lungs if I breathe through my skin? So how much oxygen do I take in? So they say, okay, well, 90% or 60%, but there's always a piece missing when we start measuring and putting it into boxes. You cannot put consciousness and energy into a box. And I think this is where the whole dilemma and discussion comes, because the conscious mind, which only is 5 to 10%, wants to put it in a box, wants to have a number, but we are totality of all, and that cannot be measured. So, did I answer your question?
I don't believe there's any right or wrong answer, and I really think you answered it extremely well based on what I've learned over the years and what resonates with me. And what was coming up for me as you were sharing there was the difference between it, let's just say within an hour's time frame of if I was to be measured in my energetic state whilst I was sat on the couch watching something on the TV, versus half an hour later being in nature, sat on the ground looking around at the forest and the surrounding of the trees and hearing the birds, what the difference energetically, if it was to be measured, would be. Yet it's within the same time frame. I'm just in a different environment that for me, based on how you know me, being in nature is what truly serves me. So naturally my energetic state would raise, but it's still the same day, the same hour. So where's that measure? Does that make sense?
Oh, totally, because we all have moments of brilliance and half an hour later we're a total idiot. So, I mean, I think that sums it up.
I'm scared to say anything for the rest of the call now.
And unfortunately, the moments of brilliancy, they don't get remembered as much as that's a stupid idiot things.
So what would you say, Antje, is obviously you said around like part of your upbringing, and you've actually lived in different countries. So we were talking about this before. So please share that with myself and the people listening around that journey of shifting through not only the different countries, but also the cultures and how they affected you on your journey.
Oh yes, it's been a very colorful journey. So I was born and raised and grew up in Germany. Okay. And I had at a very early age, I had international friends. And then I met people from South Africa, and I got invited to live in South Africa, to go and visit South Africa. That was 1993. I met the South Africans. 94, I did my first trip to South Africa, just for a holiday, and it was really, really transforming, because I never felt anywhere so much at home like in the South African bush, in the whole landscape. They call it, close to Johannesburg, there's a place where they call it the cradle of mankind. And I can see why, because South African nature or African nature is just different from anything in Europe. You know, in Europe, the land has been worked and tamed basically for thousands of years, and in Africa, nothing. You know, it's been nomadic, and agriculture is not that old there. And it's got a certain ring to it, a certain frequency, a certain power. So then 95, I moved to South Africa. And from there, I lived in South Africa and Botswana, came back to France and Paris for a while. And now currently for the last 5 years, I'm in Sweden. So different cultures, different languages. By now I speak German, English, Afrikaans, and a little bit of Swedish. So that's 4 languages, which is also very interesting for the brain to sort that out. And it's always been interesting because I came from a very lively, open, outgoing lifestyle in Germany, and I come into the Afrikaans culture, and that particular family from what was going to be my husband, you know, the parents were very conservative, like I was teleported 50 years back. So I adapted, you know, it took me a while. It took me a while, but I learned to adapt, you know, and to play the part, which was really, really funny, you know, to go into this conservative woman role, but I can do this because it's okay for me. And then having obviously the experience and yeah, and when you have snakes in your kids' bedrooms and being chased by lions and, you know, and go whale watching and live at the coast and watch whales and dolphins when you do dishes, it has a certain ring to it, and it shapes you of who you are. And obviously all the exposure to the energies and the healing modalities. South Africa, everything goes, you know, the sangomas and the herbs and the modern medicine, anything and everything goes. So it's been really interesting journey. And then I come to Sweden, which is Scandinavian people. They're different. They're really, really different. So that still is quite an adjustment.
So it's very clear in along those journeys around the difference in the cultures that's helped mold you.
Oh, totally, because you cannot merge into a culture where you were not brought up in, because you're always the foreigner. You know, I mean, who immigrates to South Africa? Now it is more common, but when I came 95, nobody would do that. And I was always the foreigner, not, but I wasn't brought up there, you know, I was not South African. You hear it on the accent. You know, I speak Afrikaans with the accent. Who on earth learns Afrikaans as a foreign language? Nobody does. Okay. Right. So I speak the English with the accent. I speak the German, then came and got an accent in because I wasn't using it enough. The Afrikaans has got the accent in. So I just open my mouth and people know I'm different. Okay. And then you still have to find yourself and obviously develop, you know, getting married, living there, you know, doing all these crazy things, having children, you know, that changes you as a person. So you have to find who you are, and then you can basically be anywhere.
So in finding, like in saying this journey of finding who you are, along that path in particular, because of what I've heard from other friends who've visited but more so lived in South Africa, did you feel safe there?
Well, it depends. Safe. So, I mean,
Define it.
Doors are locked, you know, 5 keys and burglar bars and alarm system. But it was home. It was home for many, many years. But the violence is outstanding, right? But I really have to think about this, but I did feel safe because I was secure in myself and I trust myself.
Yeah.
If you ever want to learn how to use your intuition, you go and live in South Africa, because this is what you live by. You know, if it doesn't feel right, we once had an incident, my husband and me, we were walking on the beach and there was nobody else. And there in the distance was a couple of people coming. We didn't say a word, right? but we picked up the pace and we walked as fast as possible. And we just made it to the car by about 20 meters, And when that group of people, saw that we're in the car, we're heading off, they went, they missed us,
Yeah.
And that's when we started talking, right? It's the intuition, there's trouble coming, okay? Yeah. The same in the shopping malls, the same as driving, and then you're somewhere else and you out in nature. And in nature, you also got to watch for the snakes, got to watch for the animals, right? So it's all, I felt secure because I'm secure within myself. I trust myself. And we never had a real tragic incident, so we always got away. Let's put it this way. And we're safe and we're healthy and we're good.
Yeah, good. No, thank you for sharing there. And and I really want to amplify on what you were sharing around this trusting of the intuition. So in the story that you shared with us there, it was really, there was an intuition that, hey, we need to get out of here. But I'd really like to bring that, because I 100% believe, and I'm going to even use the word know, that you've trusted your intuition along your path in many other times. And I'd love to bring it into this space where we are now, around with what you do and the people you connect with, the things you've chosen to do, how the intuition has been this level of alignment to guide you and nurture you on this path that you're on now.
I think the guidance there and the common thread throughout my life is the open-mindedness, that things can be different. When I was 18 and standing on the west coast of Portugal, after a 2.5 days drive, going now for a 6-week camping trip, I looked over into the west, so, okay, well, the next country there is America. How awesome is that? And I looked around, with this camping spot and that scenery, it was beautiful. And I thought, no, something, I want to live where people do holiday. This can't be that you work 8 to 5 for 6 weeks holidays. This can't be it. So this was the first intuition. So right there and then that moment, I made myself a promise that I'm going to immigrate, that I'm going to live somewhere else. I'm going to live my life different, And then how the intuition comes into what I'm doing now is just listening and trusting and being more connected, I would say, with an open mind and with a heart and with a consciousness into what is possible, and always believing there's more, always believing that life is good, and the universe has got my back. So if it's got my back, it's got your back. And joy and abundance, I believe, is our birthright. And my purpose in life is to bring that out in people and show them different options that they then can choose to walk the path or not. I mean, if people are happy in their misery, I am not judging, I'm not interfering. But if somebody wants to make a difference, says, this can't be it, let's explore this. And it's not about me teaching, it's about me asking the questions, because every path is different. That's why it's called your desired success and not Antje's way to happiness.
Yes. Yeah, bringing it back to self and what serves self. Yeah. Raising that vibration, letting it overflow, and everyone can receive it and inspire each other. So what I love what you shared there, and what was coming up for me as you were going through that was this beautiful journey that we spoke about this in the community around getting clear on the why. And the why is built on our past experiences, the stories, and that usually brings us to a point where we're able to, when we take the time to invest in it, create a sentence that really amplifies why we do what we do. Have you got that clear for yourself at this time in your life?
The phrase that I very, very often use when people ask why you're doing this is simply because I can. Okay. Now, this is not very philosophical in terms of a big vision, but we are so much more capable of so many more things, right? And this is obviously not my why because I can, but this is a driving force because I can. So let's have this experience. You know, it's about the human experience. We're spiritual beings on a human journey, not a human being that tries to get into spirit. Because what stays is the soul and the consciousness and the spirit, and the body stays behind. So what is the more important thing here? You know, it's not the body. And my why I'm doing things is because the majority of people are asleep. Okay. And when I came back to Europe now, I really actually only noticed what a joyride I had. I mean, don't get me wrong, I was appreciative of every single day, you know, of every experience. But when I come back here and link up more with my old school friends, because I'm closer to home here in Sweden, you know, then it's just like, what have you done in the last 25 years? Okay. And it's just like, okay. So I want to
so sorry to interrupt, but just for obviously people who don't understand what you mean, can you define asleep?
Asleep, you're having a routine and you do the same thing over and over, and nothing really changes, nothing really develops, you know. I mean, you don't have to change too much, but if you, or let's put it this way, if you are not have the majority of days where you are happy, fulfilled, and super grateful, then you're asleep, because it is possible, you know. I mean, I'm not changing my house all the time. It's not about the outer change. It's about the inner development. We are meant to grow and expand in in life experience.
So and I love that. I resonate on every level with that. And as you were talking there, all that was coming to me was inspired, waking up every day inspired, which is part of our vision, and which to me is in spirit. So that's me serving myself, amplifying my own energetic value that I'm receiving. So with that, with what you were sharing there, what is it that you found has been important for you along that path of what you have needed to do, the realizations that you've had to make sure you're serving yourself, to be able to be not living, I'd say, Groundhog Day, but like you say, not growing?
I would say to have the courage to be different, you know. When I announced that I'm immigrating to South Africa, I actually had 2 people fully supporting me, and that was it. The rest is like, I said, you're doing what? Okay. But I had the courage to do something different, you know. And then again, you listen to that inner feeling. You listen to the feeling, because your feeling, your intuition will tell you what is right and what is wrong for you. Right? And there is a clear distinction between feeling and intuition feeling. And we're not going to go into that now, but there's a clear distinction. And with a little bit of training, you will recognize that. And when you have that knowing that you know what you need to do, then I would say just really have the courage and don't worry about the consequences too much. You know, just get going, because you can never. I have a family member, you know, we are so on the opposite. I focus on the solution, entirely on the solution, and then somehow I get there. And this family member eliminates all possible pitfalls and then also gets to the solution. And then we have this discussion. I didn't think about this. I didn't think about this, because it's not where my energy goes, right? Mm. So have the courage to go for what you believe is right. That without that courage, I wouldn't have moved, and I wouldn't have had the colorful life. You know, I would probably be mildly depressed, living somewhere in a little suburban asleep life in Germany, probably divorced 3 times. Yeah, courage.
And I know you're not coming from a place of judgment to others. It's just sharing around the life that you've chosen to live through living in a state of intuition that's allowed you to experience so much more than you would have done, and be who you are today, and be obviously serving others as you are. Would that be a true overview reflection?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not a missionary, that goes and knocks on people's doors and try to convince them that my way is the right way. I'm very conservative, actually, in offering my help and my services, because I need to know that that person really wants to make a change, and that they're committed to do what it takes to create what they want to create. Because let's face it, it's not always moonshine and roses, So I'm more sitting back and wait until the people are ask me for help. That's very important. I've had so many husbands and wives, my husband wants to quit smoking. I said, okay, please let the husband phone me, and husband never phoned. In fact, once I had husband and wife on the phone, and eventually I said, no. I said, I'm not the right therapist for you. I'm not the right coach. Please find a marriage counselor. I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
So I am conservative of who I work with. All right. And there's absolutely no judgment. In fact, I admire people that can be so stable and live in the same city where they grew up, maybe even in the same house. I kind of admire that stability,
Yeah. But at the same time, there's that wanting to experience more. I know what it was like when moving to Australia. I didn't know what Australia was going to be like. My intuition said you need to go, and family, friends were like, what do you mean? You've not even been. How do you know you're going to like it? What do you mean you're sending all your gear over without even traveling over there to see if you're going to? No, it feels like the right thing to do. And they were very much in their head and coming from a logic, and I was coming from my heart, my gut, my intuition, like you said, the brain of the gut. And the moment I landed, the only way I can find the right words to describe it was as if the earth just wrapped its arms around me here in Australia and said, welcome home.
Exactly.
And it was beautiful. And that's why I call us, in particular, Western Australia or Australia, home. So it was a magical moment for me, and it always will be. So with this journey that you've been going on, because obviously we've been talking about the past, and then we're getting a bit more into the present, but what's also the vision? What is it that you're working toward? Not neglecting the present, but what are you working towards with your vision for you and your family?
For me and my family, obviously it's finding the stability and the grounding, because we lost my husband, me and my girls, we lost my husband a year and a half ago, and that has rattled the world a lot. So in the present, to just really find that and redefine ourselves, who we are, with that family member missing, right, in physical form. And in terms of my work, the vision there is really to bring joy and practical manifestation of the abundance. It's very important to be practical, because it's all good and fine to have these lofty ideas and these wild dreams, and then nothing ever happens. Okay. And for me, it's important and also challenging to say, okay, how do I build this into my day-to-day life? Because you don't have to change jobs. You don't have to, tear down the house. You can renovate it. And a very good friend of mine, he was a total Zen vegetarian butcher, okay? And he was staying in this job, and I said, no, this is so opposite. I'm going to make it work, right? So to find that inner adjustment so that the outer world can also adjust, and really be practical and bring the potential that is all floating up there into day-to-day life. in a way that suits the individual. Not everybody wants to have $1 million in there or a yacht or a nice car, and that's fine. But you will know when you have that sense of absolute joy and fulfillment and inspiration in whatever form or shape it may come.
Yeah, beautiful. Such a powerful share there, and there's, I think it really is amplified what you've been saying throughout this whole interview around this trusting your intuition and getting out of our heads and not caught up in what sounds good or necessarily looks good. It's more about coming back inside and what feels good. And you actually took me back to when I used to be a personal trainer, working with people with the goals around. People would say, I want to achieve this, and I go, well, is it realistic for you? And then all of a sudden it's like bringing them back down and going, so this will be the plan then. And all of a sudden it's like, well, I don't want that. I go, well, and you're going to have to do all this amount. I don't want to do all that amount of work. I haven't got the time for that. And it was really then finding the bringing it more into, let's say, reality and giving a clear plan. And then they were able to see how they were going to be able to not only achieve it, but grow with it and through it, which I think is something that was coming up for me as you were sharing there, taking me back to that point, especially with myself right now, where I'm going and what I'm doing. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And it's true, it's got to be practical. Otherwise, it's no value whatsoever. Otherwise, it's just talk. And it's just talk.
Yeah. So I am going to say, from what I've received so far, that there's been a lot of Antje bombs going off over here. You've been throwing them left, right, and center. So, and no doubt people have already got at least one golden nugget of wisdom from you. But let's have a look at, if you were going to pull something out of yourself that you would say, do you know what? If I was going to give a person right now one nugget of my wisdom, what would you say that would be in this moment?
I would say keep going, because every tragedy has got the seed of greatness, and I'm walking that talk. All right. And we are in a global change, and there's a lot of disasters, a lot of people losing their jobs. The prices are just skyrocketing. Just keep going. There's always a solution. There's always an alternative. It might not be the way you think it is. Like what has happened to me in the last couple of years, I couldn't even have dreamt of these ideas and these concepts. But keep an open mind and keep going, and coming from that place, that really holding on, what is right for me. I've had plenty of times where I said to myself, I've got to get a job. I have not been employed since 1995. Okay. And I was very close. It's like, I need the money, I need to do this, need, whoa, pressure. So, okay, I'm going to get myself a job, and then I sleep over it. I said, no, I keep going. I keep following my path. I'm unemployable at this stage. And then besides that, I just don't want to go back into that box. Once you're out of the box, stay out of the box. Yeah. So I would say keep going. There is, like I said at the beginning, the universe is good. Life has got your back, and everything will be good at the end. And if it's not good yet, it's not the end. Simple.
Fantastic. Thank you. So in regards to yourself with keeping on going, you chose to come into the YDS community space and be a part of what we're co-creating here. So I'd like to hear more from you as a point of receiving, as in masterminds, masterclasses, getting on the calls, the connection of, the connection with other like-minded people. What is your reasoning for being here and the value you receive as a member?
Well, as a member, as a person, I also require my own personal growth. And for that, if I listen to myself too much, I'm also going in circles. So for me, it's important to have a conversation with you or the others, to just simply be in the student, in the observer, in the receiver, so that I get my gold nuggets, so that I get my inspirations, so that I get nudged and kicked in the butt if I need to, if I'm stuck. Because at the end of the day, I'm just a truth seeker like everyone else. Okay, so this is what the membership brings me, is a place where I feel, I can trust the people, I like the people, we always have a lot of fun, and where I can be the student and just the person, and also receive and learn and grow.
Yeah, beautiful. Resonate on every level. And then there's the next part of that, which is around not only you receiving from other presenters, but you're also a presenter. So please share more about the calls that you present, why you chose to do them, and the people you're looking to connect with.
Yeah. Well, the one Mastermind is a soul food cafe. And that is very much to be inspired. And also we have different topics. It's very much about the practical implication and application of the natural laws of success, and how do we do it? How do we do it, and what do we do when we're stuck? In really practical terms, and not all lofty generalized statements. So there we have a small group, and then the individuals, it's a master class, so it's a mastermind. So then the individual says, okay, how does this apply to me, in my country, in my language, in my situation, to really narrow it down? Because if you can't apply it in your day-to-day life, you haven't integrated it, and you're not using it, so you're wasting potential again. So this is a soul food cafe, different topics about very much the practical hands-on application of the philosophies and the beautiful spiritual principles. How do we do that? And then with my love for energy and consciousness, I'm obviously, one of my favorite modalities is hypnotherapy. So I've got the hypnosis masterclass, which is a full-on hypnosis session. 15 minutes, 20 minutes, check in with the group, what's happening, what topic is there, where's the common ground with the people that are there, and we always find a common ground. And then I take it into the subconscious mind, eyes closed, process for about 20-30 minutes, and we have a very quick debrief, and then we'll just go and everybody experiences the shift. And I just love doing that. I really, really love doing that, because all the life experience comes into those sessions, both of them. Yeah. So you said, who do I look for? These classes are for people that are curious and they want to make a change in their lives. Doesn't matter how big or small, and they're curious. Pretty much that's it. Yeah.
Fantastic. That's wonderful to receive on this side. And you also, and please forgive me if you don't like this terminology, but you're no doubt viewed by people in this space as a coach based on what you do, and the way that you show up and the way you communicate, the questions you ask and so on. You also are working on a program that's going to be offered within this space, and no doubt it may evolve into some more. So is that something that, as a once again, use the language, as a coach, that you feel gives those people who come onto the calls, like as in a tasting plate, to connect with you, to see your value, to then go, hey, I trust this person. This is my life. I trust this person is going to help me get to a new level of growth and help me on my path. Is that something that you feel the program does also bring in another element to that, the masterminds and masterclass you offer?
Yes, absolutely. Because a masterclass and a mastermind is a commitment, but it's not so much of a commitment. Okay, you can go and And each class stands on its own. So if you miss one or two, you haven't missed out. But when you do a program like the Millionaire Minds mentorship program, for example, that's a more intense working environment. The group is deliberately small, and I work with the people then way more intensely. So that kind of program would be the next level of commitment to yourself. And then obviously, because that is a program where the 1 week builds on the other one, we can put in a couple of elements more that I can't do on the mastermind, because I don't know whether the people are going to be there next week, right? So it is a step up, absolutely. And obviously the shift and the transformation that you will receive with that are also going to be greater, and they're going to be a little bit faster because you work with me more intensely, more on one-on-one, and obviously with the group, because sharing in a group and getting inspired in a mastermind, I mean, we know the benefits of that. So that's not going to be taken away. That is the added bonus on that. And the programs are for everybody that is really ready to commit. And then let's just really do it. Now.
Yeah, beautiful. That resonates 100%. So thank you for sharing there, Antje. And I truly want to say, I'm conscious of the time, so I truly want to say thank you for investing your time in being here to be with me, to share your value, but also for anybody and everybody who choose to listen to this, to give some kind of understanding, intellectual understanding as to the value you are as a human being on this journey. Because I've had the pleasure of getting to know you over the past, I think, probably 2 years, if not a little bit longer. And it's been a wonderful adventure on my side. And I've thoroughly enjoyed getting to know you and to be able to call you a friend for the way that you've shown up in my life. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. And thank you for being in this space on this journey where we're co-creating this world together as a community.
Well, it's an absolute pleasure. And thank you, Martin, for having the structure for people like me to show up, because I couldn't organize a mastermind community. So thank you for being there with Beth in the background and doing all the technical stuff. I would be totally lost. And then we have the magic, we have the magic in this community for the presenters and for the members and for the rest of the world to live and be happy and do what they want to do. Yeah,
I think that's so fantastic. I just want to meet lovely people, build deep and meaningful relationships, connect, and I think I just, like, fortunately with Beth, we leverage our skill set around the ability to build the technology, but the core essence of it is the people. And once you build it and you have faith in regards to who's going to come in, you just let go, and those who are supposed to be in this space come on in. And I think that's what's so beautiful about it, is there's no forcing of bringing people in. It's like this literally attraction of, this is who we're looking for. If you resonate with anything that's being shared in this space, come on in and experience the value. And only when you experience it will you then hey, this is where I need to be. And if it's not, there's something else out there for you. So
exactly.
So thanks again, Antje. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Martin. And I'll see you soon in the masterminds.
Indeed you will. Bye-bye.
Bye.